Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
It's time again for another episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your glamorous host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during a global pandemic. Today, we have a great story of an individual who has totally rocked. She has undergone a career transformation in the most drastic of fashions and is now a rising star in the mental health industry. And I've got to admit, an amazing entrepreneur as well. This is somebody who has grown both her practices during a global pandemic. This is one of my favorite type of interviews because it shows you that you can change and you can adopt your business based upon your true calling. Sometimes when you're young, you choose one path, you get into it, and then you realize, you know what? This is not my true calling. This person has found her true calling, and let me tell you what, she is rocking it. We're going to focus on, probably three of my favorite focus points during an interview today. One, career transformation. Two, obviously, we've got to touch on her subject matter expertise, being she is in the mental health field. So many people are suffering right now, so we're definitely going to be chatting about that. And number three, how she has grown not just one, but two business lines during all the chaos that we have going on right now. So I've got to tell you though, seriously, I am blown away. So who is today's guest? Zelat Lopez. CEO and founder Zelat Lopez is a duly licensed Latinx psychotherapist that established the Vita System, Inc., with the intention of creating a space to provide access and service to entrepreneurs who are looking to grow as professionals by learning the components of a thriving practice. Aside from providing coaching and therapy, she is an international key speaker, business consulting, corporate trainer, advocate of mental health, content creator, and a fur mama to Lola Huryoki. So without further ado, let's bring in my good friend, Z.
Business strategy.
Hi, Z. Welcome to Shark Bite Biz. So glad to have you here.
Hi, David. Good morning. How we doing over there on the East Coast?
Oh, loving it. I can tell you what, I totally miss Los Angeles. How's the weather out there? I know it's pretty early yet, but I'm sure your fall is nothing like our fall.
Absolutely. I have this beautiful coat on right here, but it's very light. So I'm just waiting for our fall to come, but it's still summer. So it's beautiful here as always.
That's great. So glad to hear. So obviously I know who you are. We've known each other for, I think, a couple years now. At least 2, 3, somewhere in there. And, but a lot of our listeners probably have no idea who you are. So we have a tradition here. Very first question for everybody is, who are you? What do you do? What's your experience? What's your background? Tell us who Z Lopez is.
Yeah. So hi, my name's Z, and I'm a lipstick addict. That's who I am. So actually, fun fact, let's start there. My name's actually the only one in the world because it has an H in it. So it's Zelat. It's very unique. Yeah. I'm a duly licensed psychotherapist in the state of California, and I'm also a coach to build 6-figure practices for mental health and wellness professionals. And in my real life, I'm a fur mama to my little Lola, and that's what I do. I'm just a fur mama full time.
Great. So I've got a lot of questions for you. As I've told you on this show, we focus on a couple of different things. One of them is the individual. Next one is your actual business pivots, things you've had to make during the ongoing pandemic. And then the third topic I like to try to cover would be, your expertise, especially in a time like this. So to kick it off, how did you get to do what you're actually doing?
Yeah, I can't say that COVID hasn't been difficult, but it was really a true blessing. Because of all of this, pivot, shift, and innovate from one business to another. I actually got to give birth to my new corporation. So getting to what I do now has just been, you know, how they say, like, there's no such thing as an overnight success. It's 10 years, it's 7 years, 5 years of just one day, everything kind of pays off. So in going to school for years or just kind of learning the business side of things, I was able to teach other colleagues in my field how to pivot and shift during COVID. So I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned during this time.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I mean, how did you get into the, like, you're a psychotherapist, so how did you decide to get into this field, though?
Man, David, you know how? It was a whole bunch of men every day, all day. I'm actually a licensed cosmetologist for 15 years, and I was a barber for 7. So it was just having great conversations with men, giving them fades, high tops, right, low fades. And, you know, they would tell me about, you know, the wife, the side salad, and I realized that they were coming back because of the conversation, not so much because of the haircut. And I learned why not get paid for something I do well? So that's literally why I became a therapist. I mean, everybody knows your barber is your unpaid therapist.
Right. That's an amazing career transformation. I mean, how ago was that that you decided?
Yeah, 5 years ago, actually, I decided. Like I said, I was an unpaid therapist, and I've always loved psychology. So I went to cosmetology school when I was really young, then college, and then I just went to graduate school. Mm-hmm.
Holy cow! That's amazing. That's pretty fascinating. So now you have 5 years that you're doing this. When you started, okay, so you got into being is it therapist, psychologist, or is it the same thing? I want to make sure I get my terms right. Yeah,
it's the study of psychology, but it's therapist. Therapist will work.
Okay. So you get into being a therapist. Like, how did that start then? Did you just know that, like, hey, I'm going to go out, do this on my own, create my own business? Or did you work with another firm? How did it come about to getting your own business?
Yeah, I think it's always naturally been inside me. So being a hairdresser for so many years, you know, the latter part of that, I was my own boss. I was doing hair and makeup for brides and running my own company for that. So then I just applied I applied what I learned in one industry, innovated, shifted, and applied it to the other. So it's a beautiful thing to know that our skills that we learn lifelong can be applied in different aspects in different areas.
No, that's an amazing validation, because we've heard that so many different times in this show. I think when we were just talking the other day, I think I was telling you about, fitness life coach that we had on earlier that was a funeral director. And I'm like, on the surface, you have no idea that there is that much carryover, but it actually does when you get down under the level. And, you know, this is just another validation of the facts there. So let's start looking at, you know, your business itself. I know you've already mentioned that this has been an amazing time for you, and we're finding that as well too. I mean, some companies have had to make some cuts, or they've had to right size the business because they're going to be okay, but they're not going to be a $200 million a year business this year. They're probably going to be what they hit last year, or maybe slightly under. You, on the other hand, I mean, your business is growing. It's booming.
Absolutely. It was.
How did you get that?
You know, pick the worst time to start a business and you won't see any difference, I think. Because when you start a business, it's rough, right? And it's tough. But what a beautiful time than right now. If you can't make it in the hard times, I'd hate to think what happens in the good times, right?
That is, that's true. I've never thought about it that way. You know, that's one of the other things that really just surprised me about you. You know, we were talking about, you know, just business sales generally and stuff like that. I mean, you've done a lot of studying, I guess you could say, some of, you know, the things that you've been reading up with, the coaching, development. Do you think all that stuff has really kind of helped you as well, too, to unlock it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely, David. But, you know, let's be honest and real here. I think the real teacher is life. I think the real teacher, this year alone, is equal to like 20 years in school. I mean, nobody was ready for COVID, right? No one. And I said, it's interesting. We've learned left and right. Like they say, if a new portal to a new universe opened up right now, I wouldn't be surprised. anything can happen in 2020.
You know, and it's crazy because, like, look at the Nobel Prize winner for the study in the black holes, finding out that there is like a universe before our universe, you know, so you're right on that same track. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into, though. I mean, if you could just open up a little bit as far as what impacts did this pandemic have on you exactly? And what were some of those more specific changes that you've had to make?
Yeah, I mean, just to be bluntly honest, I think it was bittersweet for me specifically because in this dire times, it's booming with business because I'm in the mental health business. But it's bittersweet. Right. I'm thinking people are suffering. People are really going through it. So it's kind of like a business is good. It's kind of like the funerals, right? Like business is good, but people are passing away. There's grief with that. So I can't tell you how many sessions I've had where we've had to process COVID deaths. So it's definitely impactful for the recipient and the receiver, all of it. So that's how it's impacted me the most. Really learning to balance my own mental health as well as helping others along the way.
When you're hearing these types of stories and stuff like that as a therapist, I mean, does that impact your mental health? I mean, because I'm a big believer in, hey, look, you've got to separate your work life from your personal life. But if you're just hearing some really sad stories all day, that's got to have some impact on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does get to a point, David, over the years where you hear something, you're like, all right, it's lunchtime. Let me go eat my salad. COVID's different. I can't tell you how many times I heard something. I held space in the room, but then later you go and you process on your own. I'll be real, David. I go to therapy every single week. I feel that if I can't cleanse, how can I show up for others? So that's what I do. I eat my.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's really great feedback and to know, because I was always kind of wondering with that. I mean, we have a lot of people out there that are just suffering right now, like you were mentioning, because COVID has brought so many more issues for them that they really weren't prepared for. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have the business aspect of it. I'm sure that there's a lot of business owners out there that are freaking out. And then you also have just personal aspects of it. You know, my wife, Peruvian, basically, like Peru had a moratorium on flying. No one can get in and out of Peru during the big part of the pandemic. And, there were friends of hers passed away. The daughter may be living up in New York City, and they couldn't even get back for the funerals to say goodbye and stuff. And that's got to really be hard on a lot of people.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
How do you process anything of the sort, right? I think it's just really been in unity of like being as much together as possible without being together. You know what I love, David, more than anything? The creativity. I mean, I said it before, right? The mother of invention. Mm-hmm. Necessity. And I absolutely love counting the ways that people have gotten together, like Zoom wedding, right? Zoom birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Activity that people have created, even businesses. I see so many here in Los Angeles of restaurants that were like, we would never put our clients outside. And now there's outdoor dining. There's other things that they never would have thought would work business model wise. And it's working. It's wonderful.
Yeah. New things. This podcast.
Exactly.
I mean, that is absolutely true. We've heard expert after expert on this show saying the same exact thing. You're backed into a corner. For myself, even, you're backed into a corner. It forces change. It forces necessity, because I think generally speaking, people are stubborn. They know what they know, and they're hesitant or afraid to take risks to go another direction for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, now they're doing it. I know out here, or maybe it was LA, I forget, if one of my homes, either Philly or LA, one of them, probably out here, because I know that they were really strict out on alcohol out here in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. But now, because of this, so that some places could survive, they allowed them to do takeout like cocktails and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's some things that I don't think you've ever had here. I mean, Pennsylvania's alcohol laws are really strange. So, the stuff like that's I think it's really cool because we're getting the forced innovation, and it's really, for better or worse, it's helping people stop saying, doing things just because that's the way it's doing them. It's making them force themselves to reevaluate, to view if they can do it better or not.
Absolutely. Not only that, David, I mean, COVID is forcing people to be with themselves, right? Not be alone. Right? Yeah. I think there's a big difference between solitude and loneliness. And as a business owner, I think that the foundation of your business, if you are the business, whatever hasn't been processed will spill into your business. So COVID is really just helping people come to themselves and have that come to Jesus moment.
Yeah. So what should business owners be aware of in regards to maybe warning signs for burnout, mental health decline, especially I think even around their employees too, because if business owners are going through a tough time, chances are their employees are too, if it's a stressful environment.
Yeah, I think personal check-ins, but also check-ins with your staff. What I love doing every week is having a written out type form, kind of just like a questionnaire. Every week I ask them, what are you grateful for? What was your win and your challenge? And how can we further support you? Every single week, every staff member fills it out. So whether I get to do my rounds or not, my office manager gets to. It's the check-in that's so important. And for self, I mean, it's different for everybody, but it could be a walk. It could be, with your dog. It could be meditation. Whatever works, there's no right or wrong, but it's taking the time to actually pause.
Right. Well, what about as far as even just the work from home people, from an employee standpoint? I don't know how much you're hearing about this, but I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, right now, I'll just use me as an example. I mean, we're a stay-at-home, teacher for the kids. I have 2 kids studying at home. I have a 3-year-old that runs rampant. You might hear him in the background right now. But in addition to that, I mean, I'm working from home. I run my podcast from home. And then I'm just home. Everything's happening here in the home. I mean, that's really hard, I think, on a lot of people, a lot of stress. They're doing a lot of things that they haven't had to do. And the worst part is they're doing everything from home. So there's no commute from the house to the office to kind of have those boundaries anymore. Everything is just blah.
Yeah, absolutely. David, I can't tell you how much I agree with that. And the divorce rates actually have gone up. I can't tell you, it's true because you're spending more time with the partner that you live with, and you actually have to get to know each other now. It's a running joke, but it's not, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't speak to that, David. I don't have little ones, but I can't imagine what it's like to have to be like a teacher, employee, running a company, like all these things all at once. If anything, I think it's teaching people you can do it. If you had to, here we are, right? Months later.
Yeah. No. And that's exactly, I had texted you hey, I'm running a couple minutes behind for our interview today. And that was exactly because I guess my daughter had her microphone muted and she got yelled at by the teacher because the teacher thought then that she wasn't reading out loud, but she actually was. And she's only 7, so she was crying. And I had to I'm not going to school anymore today. I quit. And I had to have that little talk with her that I never would have had during this moment like that if we weren't in a global pandemic. It's just because she's at home. It's like, oh, crap, I got to deal with this real quick. And it's stressful because it just gives you another thing to have to try to juggle just to make work. And I think I think me personally, I'm set up through my experience on how to get through, but it wasn't easy. There's a lot of tough moments. I think there's a lot more people that aren't set up with those types of skill sets to deal with it. And they're the people I really kind of worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen the meme, David, where the parent, the child's trying to find them in the home and they put up the billboard that matches the couch? So they hide behind the couch and the billboard. Yeah.
No, I haven't, but that would be a good one. The ones I see is usually involved with the parents drinking about homeschool teaching. So I could definitely
Mommy
feel
and
that.
daddy's juice for the day.
Yeah. This is my grape juice, not yours. And so, how, we've talked about the innovation, creativity, and stuff like that. How does that help with, like your business, for example? Okay. You mentioned that it's allowed you to launch a second business where you're actually teaching, helping, coaching other people get to where like you are with your main practice. Is that right?
Absolutely. And David, interestingly, I feel like a lot of individuals were afraid to do this online thing, right? Because they had the luxury of seeing us in person. And I've been a big fan of online forever. In LA, we all know, like, if you find parking, you're a king. Like, you've already won lottery, right? Yeah. And I've always told people, if we're running late for session, just jump on your phone, your computer. There's so many ways to connect. That alone freed up so much of my time, David. I kid you not, 10 hours out of my week was saved just by not having to do the whole parking, walking in, walking out, driving to and from. That's so much time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can notice. So telehealth isn't really new. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it was so limited. Like you'd had to go through usually some third party or something. Like I have United Healthcare, and they were like, hey, you can go through these two providers for telehealth. But I couldn't get it with my doctor, with my specialist for anything, and that was really kind of frustrating because the technology was, do I really need to be there in person if it's just a regular checkup, if they don't have to do an actual physical exam of me? Okay, do you really need to be there in person? And that's where I think the innovation is, going back to what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. It's really forced people forward to where, they were doing things a certain way because that's how it's been done, instead of like, hey, how can we do this so much better?
Yeah, but not only that, David, it's forcing people to see there's other options too. And let's talk about this overhead. So my overhead, very transparently, alone in Los Angeles is $3,500. That's just the office alone. All right. Now, if I were to save that and allocate it towards other resources or giving back to my community, or just services granted towards pro bono, that'd be life-changing. These opportunities have only come along because of COVID. COVID came and just highlighted what was already there to begin with and made things worse or even better for those that knew how to shift. That's the way I see COVID. Big yellow highlighter, just like your graduation banner in the back.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Glorious, isn't it? Yeah. So, it does. And I absolutely agree with that as well, too. I guess, we do got to start getting wrapped up. And with that, we've talked a couple times about some people that could be struggling at home, with either the spouse or, it brings up a lot of more divorce. How can people kind of deal with that? I mean, what can people do if they are struggling for whatever reason?
Yeah, there's several ways. For somebody, I think, that's really open to do the work and they're ready for it, to process with another human being. I'm a big fan. I eat my own tacos. Like I said, therapy is awesome. Try it, right? Secondly, if somebody's not ready, I would say 3 methods that are awesome are writing in a journal, voice recording, or video recording. I'm a big fan of personal journaling. That's just for me, not for anybody, and I don't post. And you can actually hear the tone, facial affect, and the content of what you're saying. Watch it later when you're in a different state of mind, and you can actually have a mirror held up to yourself that's yourself. For somebody that's ready for some insight and some actual introspection, it's a great tool. And it's at the palm of your hand. Who doesn't have a phone?
But how... Okay, so I get what you're doing with that, but how does that actually then help me? So, like, say I'm recording myself and then I watch it later. What is that meant to do to help me?
I think it's more so about the pause. And let's say your daughter spilled something and you're like, oof, And instead of just letting it out without thinking about it, unfiltered, you go to your own corner and you're just like, come on, like, could we not get it together this morning or whatnot? And then you have an outlet versus for individuals that may not have healthy relationships or there's some toxicity there, to have another outlet, another option while still in home, still safe and still COVID proof.
Okay. That, I think that makes a little bit, that makes sense to me as far as, I kind of, as I'm hearing it, that seems to me like a better, more modern way of taking a deep breath and counting to 10. Am I right, subject with that?
And like I said, it's not for everybody. You can also journal your feelings. But I've had some clients that be like, get out of here with that. I'm not going to start writing my feelings, right? But it has to go somewhere. Just like all the trash on our desktop, we have to empty the trash sometimes. So you have to find what works for you. For some people, you go to the gym, but now they need a replacement. Okay.
So, as we go forward with this, I mean, what do you think the new norm is going to be with business? What's the trends you see? Do you think your virtual health appointments, stuff like that, do you think they're still going to exist 6 months from now if we're done through the pandemic? Is this stuff going to be here
Absolutely,
to
David.
stay?
If anything, I should have invested in Zoom, right? We all said that before. I probably won't go back to doing in person, if I'm honest with you. I just see so many more benefits from it than not to go back to what it used to be. I don't think anything will ever be the same in a good way. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's see. So I guess, I just wanted to kind of give you, as I do with everybody, I want to give you the final words. Do you have any final words of advice out there for any small business owners that are struggling through this time period?
I would say start your day every day with gratitude. It's so important to see the silver lining behind of it. Ooh. David, there's some days where I'm just like, I'm grateful for my clean socks. I mean, there's some days where it's rough, and there's other days where I'm like, wow, I'm grateful for the SBA doing this or that for business owners. So there's highs and lows. Let's just find some gratitude and start there, because it will literally start the tone for the day.
Yeah, I really love your attitude, the way that you think of it, because you're one of the few people that I've talked to. And yes, I talked to a lot of people and they're all like, yes, that you can still grow a business. But I don't think I've heard somebody as positive, forward thinking as you. That's not like, yeah, you can grow business. We can pivot to make this work. No, you're just like, this is straight up opportunity. I've got to grab this opportunity. I'm going to run with it. I own this, and you control the whole situation. And I think it's amazing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. I mean, may we learn from history, right? When the market crashed 10 years ago, that made millionaires. This is about other.
Yes.
May I see you on Forbes, David?
Yeah. We'll be, hopefully we both have a title there in Forbes in a couple of years. But, okay. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy with everything that you're doing. How can people reach out to you or your firm?
So you can actually find me at Zealot or thevidasystem.com. That's the easiest way to find us. And, we're excited to speak and just connect. I love networking, and we're actually launching our Vida Directory Network. So we're going to keep in. Yeah.
Hold on. Before you go, what is that network? What is that exactly?
A lot of mental health and wellness professionals have directories, right, where you go find a therapist. But for me, and just like yourself, right, we're very similar in that we love connecting people. We're the plug. So knowing that, if we're the business matchmakers, why not just have a platform to put it out there? So that's what we've created this year for people to connect even further online. So I just network sport.
Oh, that sounds. Yeah, no, that sounds incredible. I mean, that is almost essentially like what I did here with the podcast, because I couldn't network. I couldn't do the events like you were a part of out there in LA. So this is where, for me personally, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do the podcast. I'm going to be able to connect with people, connect with the audience. I'm sure people will be reaching out, hitting me up, and they have been. It's worked out really good in that aspect. And I'd love to, be a part of your network if possible as well, too. And one last question. I've heard the birdie that you may be starting your podcast. Any word on when that comes out?
David, it's coming. Get ready, because it's going to be under your Christmas tree. That's what we're aiming for.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we'll make sure that once that gets out, we'll share
Absolutely.
it with all
Likewise,
of our audience.
David. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I will connecting with everybody in your network. I always find someone new and innovative also on your end.
Yeah. No, great. Perfect. Thank you again, Z. And we hope to have you back here to talk once we get into the new norm.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, cheers. Really fascinating interview with Z. I mean, seriously, I love that discussion. What I love talking about with her is that many of us see right now kind of gloom and doom. I mean, as this video comes out, as this episode comes out, we're going to be 5-6 days before presidential election. We have a global pandemic going on. I'm based in Philadelphia right now, where there is some, social issues going on, and it's a lot of uncertainty with everything. And some people really do think it's gloom and doom. They only see the negative, the dark side of things, and there's a lot of darkness all around us. But Z sees the positive light shining through, and that's really important. I think everybody needs to kind of keep that in perspective. Like she said, when our country hits dark times, innovation takes over, and that's usually when the most millionaires are created in our country's history. Why is that? Let's dig a little bit deeper. It's because when we are forced to innovate, I was forced to innovate. I created a podcast because I couldn't network or do my events anymore. So, she was innovating the way that she's creating content, launching her new business lines. You can't operate in fear. You can't operate with that negative gloom and doom perspective. It is going to prevent success. It is going to limit you probably to what the status quo is, but you're not going to be able to move forward. The difference between solitude and loneliness was also a pretty important point she made as well, too. I like how she basically tells us to take a step back and pause. Going out for a walk with a dog or whatever it may be. And I also likened to how she was kind of saying about either her or her office manager, they do the rounds, making sure their staff is good, of a sound mind, that they're not in one of those dark places, because it is tough for many people. Just working from home could be punishment for them because of anxiety or whatever it may be. And in these dark times, you just kind of want to make sure you don't leave anybody alone in that darkness. Z is also another person who has digitally transformed. Between seeing clients virtually and even, just having her digital courses, it's just another case of somebody embracing technology to achieve growth. Honestly, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that was a great, insightful interview with Z, wasn't it? What do you think about her advice around the mental health and just making sure people aren't left in the dark? Please discuss in the comment section below on YouTube. And remember, if you love this interview, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, share this video and inspire somebody. Do you want to be a guest on the show? Do you have a good business story, or you want to talk about how your business pivoted during quarantine, or maybe how your business helped other businesses pivot during the pandemic? Shoot me an email, david@sharkbitebiz.com. And as always, remember, I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz, and we'll see you again next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.